What's up, y'all? This is Rich Latta here, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about my way too early impressions and hot takes for the opening kind of weekend of the WNBA. We've had a few games from each team. We're not going to get to every team today, but just kind of the stuff that's jumped out at me early on and I'm kind of prepared to go out on a limb on, or just things that I'm noticing as far as like what we have as far as having games on the schedule and not having games played. I think, we will start with the Indiana Fever. Man, they look dangerous. Like they obviously put a devastating beat down on the Chicago Sky for the first of 5 matchups. Of course, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese kind of sparked up again with their whole thing, and that has led to a lot of different fallout and various think pieces, and it's led to things like Ryan Clark and RG3 going at each other in public. Just something I want to not really touch at all. I think, though, from a basketball perspective, the Fever are going to scare the bejesus out of the league. Caitlin Clark looks like that improved strength has allowed her to bounce defenders around off of her. I can only think of the time, with Vandersloot that she had her on that switch and, basically batted her down and bumped her off and did what she wanted to her in the mid-range. If you're an Indiana Fever fan, I don't know how you could not be excited about this. The single coverage that Caitlin Clark is facing this year is going to make her truly unstoppable, I feel like. The lack of double teams is going to allow her to either cook her defenders one-on-one off a pick and roll, or use those screens to open up the middle of the floor. And while the middle of the floor opens up, if that somehow is defended, Kelsey Mitchell is right there to bail you out. I think DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Aaliyah Boston in that backline defensive trio, they just stand so tall, and they're going to block a lot of shots and close a lot of gaps and make the defending for the guards on the Fever kind of more like a funneling thing. It's like, all right, yeah, we're just going to bring you in here to the trees. The Fever got 2 games this week with the Dream. I will be in attendance for the one in Atlanta. Very excited about that, and I think we're going to learn a lot. And obviously, they have a big game against the Liberty on Saturday, who we'll talk about in just a moment. The thing about the Fever, I think that it is important to point out, is I don't think they played their absolute best game on Saturday. It just kind of looks like it. A 35-point win will go a long way as far as making you think you might be better than you are. But you can't argue with the scoreboard after a while. It feels like Caitlin Clark has squarely inserted herself in the best player in the world conversation, kind of that tier above MVP candidate, which she had already kind of resided in, in her rookie season. And that conversation is really juicy because Napheesa Collier came out here on a mission. I believe 67 points through 2 games. The Lynx are 2-0. They're playing without Kayla McBride right now, who's out for some personal reasons. They did get Alana Smith back, which is awesome to see. I love her celebration dance that she does, and I love watching the Lynx at their home games, which they haven't had one yet this year. So it's only been in preseason where they hit, their dance at the end of the game. I find that really enjoyable. The Lynx were picked as title favorites from a lot of the GMs around the league, and have done nothing to dissuade a lot of people from that stance. They are going to be excellent. I thought that they might have needed to make some kind of change, add something, but this unit seems to be locked in. Like, hey, we're bringing it back. We were this close to a title last year. Why tinker with success? And I can understand that rationale. But again, Napheesa Collier, when she gets going, she truly looks unstoppable, and I just can't wait to see her play in person either. On the flip side of the first team we talked about the Fever. The Chicago Sky look like is going to be a tough season offensively for them. I think that it is admirable to try to put the ball in Angel Reese's hands to force her into a Ben Simmons-like role. Now, when I say Ben Simmons, I don't mean the jump shot or the shooting or anything like that. I mean like being, a taller player that is responsible for handling the ball and making plays to cover up the lack of shooting. If she's going to shoot around 35% again or 40% at the rim, she cannot be the number one option. But unfortunately, it looks like they're going to have limited options. With Ariel Atkins out there, you can hope that she kind of walks in the Kennedy Carter shoes, if you like. They've got some veterans around there that are going to be asked to carry a load. Vandersloot's going to be starting, and I just don't think she's a long-term answer here. I think she's a stopgap. I think Haley Van Lith needs to get in the rotation more. She cannot just be showing up in garbage duty during blowouts. I think that would hinder her development tremendously. And while you've got her on a rookie contract, you want to maximize that. It's not like she's on a one-year deal. Get that going. Camila Cardoso is going to need to find what made her special in college. She just seems like she's just a tall person out there at the moment. I feel like if you're a Chicago Sky fan, I would not be encouraged by what you've seen thus far. And Tyler Marsh is going to have to look himself in the mirror and ask, where is my offense coming from? This team might have been like fatally flawed in the draft by going the Twin Towers route last year, where it's Camilla and it's Angel, but in a perfect world, you would be playing high-low with them. But there isn't necessarily a great answer at the high position. And it feels like inevitably we are on the collision course to one of them being traded, because they're going to need backcourt help in order to help Angel shine. The New York Liberty and their addition of Natasha Cloud make them exactly what you want a championship team to be, which is still hungry. Natasha Cloud's won a championship before, but she has not done it with this group. So you add that new energy and that new life in, and she kind of becomes like essentially like a Drew Holiday figure for them. The best kind of comparison I can think of. Like for the men, she's a streaky shooter. She can defend on the wing, will take the pressure off Sabrina of having to guard people, and there are a lot of great guards in the league. And I think she is an added element, and the opener against the Aces was all about her, in my estimation. Stewart had 25 and 8, but you kind of expect that from her. But if Cloud can come out during the big games and kind of just be this X factor, while they already have great players pretty much everywhere in Jones, Ionescu, who sometimes is prone to kind of sorry performances, for lack of a better word. And I know she had the broken hand in the finals and all that, but, you know, to start the season, I didn't hear anything about the hand being messed up. So, you know, if Cloud is there on games where Ionescu doesn't have it, the Liberty are going to be super strong and, you know, a tough out for anybody. You could just see the separation between the Liberty and the Aces as far as the Liberty ascending into the championship status, and that extra armor that it kind of gives a great team is like, yeah, man, we're champions too now. And it seemed like the Aces had always kind of had something over them until they beat them. Now on the Aces, man, it feels like A'ja Wilson's as good as ever. 31 and 15 on that opening game. She got to the line as much as she wanted. She just found herself looking like a force of nature out there. I really enjoyed watching what she did. It felt like she was the only option. They kind of, for me, feel like, you know, the Nuggets can feel around Jokic. It's a team that won a couple years ago. Age and attrition is getting to them, and the system around them is just trying to keep up with A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson not necessarily being the playmaker that Jokic is. It kind of feels like Becky Hammond is just trying to replace parts and keep the car going rather than allow these players to kind of be who they are. Asking Jewel Lloyd to come fit into the system was always going to be a tough proposition. I believe she shot 2 for 10 on Saturday. One can hope that only improves. I think Vegas still has not answered the question as far as like giving some more front court help to A'ja Wilson. And, you know, you just compare the Aces to some of the other teams. Like the Liberty has nothing but trees to throw at the Aces. I don't think the Aces would ever beat the Liberty in a playoff series in, you know, this kind of state. You even swing it to the Fever where they've got the trees that I mentioned, you know, with Aaliyah Boston and Duana Bonner and Natasha Howard, Bree Turner coming off the bench. You got big bodies like Michaela Timpson you can just throw in there, who will probably get cooked because she's a rookie, but she's still going to put a body on somebody and make you earn it. One can hope that there's only someone that can fall out of the sky to give them the help that they need. If I were them, I would be trying to trade for Camila Cardoso just to have that other big body there. This season, it feels like A'ja Wilson might end up scoring more than she did last season. Chelsea Gray got tons of love from the GMs in the survey. Did not come through in that first game. I will hold out more on that before we drop the definitive hammer on, you know, that whole thing. The Dallas Wings, want to talk about them also. I caught some of their game against the Seattle Storm, and I watched their whole game against the Minnesota Lynx, and it's going to be a long season for the Dallas Wings, man. Because Paige Bueckers kind of plays one way and the rest of the team plays another way, which is eerily reminiscent to the Fever at the very start of the season last year. I thought, in that first game, Paige was pretty passive and, just kind of trying to fit in amongst our teammates. Didn't really stand out, with the game kind of being less of a beatdown against the Storm. It felt like she got to kind of settle into who she may end up becoming in the league. A lot stronger physically than I anticipated her being from day one. She always kind of looked slight of build. There are serious concerns about the offense for me, for the Wings, especially if Enrique's shot is off, which it has been through the first 2 games. She's prone to kind of make tough decisions. Then you've got the combo of Nalissa Smith and Dejanay Carrington. Just on offense, it's rough with that. And Smith has never stood out as a standout defender. You need to find some type of answer in the front court if you are Dallas, or else there's just going to be lots of losses everywhere. Like, there is no Aaliyah Boston on the team with Paige Bueckers like Caitlin Clark had last year. So it's going to be a long road up, and they got to decide if they want to tank it out for Lauren Betts, because that might be the best option. The Washington Mystics, I may have had it wrong about Kiki Iriafen, who I was not high on coming into the draft. I felt like she was kind of black hole-ish. I felt like her game just wouldn't take off in the way that it has. Her and Sonia Citron have just been this excellent rookie duo. Washington is getting people pretty excited. Got Brittany Sykes back this year. They're out to a 2-0 start. So Washington is a sneaky league pass team, I would say. And you see, Citron, it feels like she's been in the league for 5 years. The Washington Fever games are going to be a doozy this year. My heart breaks for Georgia Amore, who did go and have successful ACL surgery, so she will be back next season, presumably. But they would have had 3 rookies out here, and you would probably have to start talking about how much they nailed their draft, and you could probably say that anyway. Kelsey Plum going from, being the second option in Vegas down to the number 1 option in LA has a very James Harden-esque feel to it. Never mind the left-handed comparisons between them. It feels like she's truly unleashed. She dropped 37 in the opener, which I believe is the most points anyone scored in the opening game of a season. She's averaging 27.5 points a game through 2 games, just over 5 assists as well. So she is immediately going to vault herself into that all-W conversation, whether it's maybe a first team. I would probably more predict a second team for her, but she is definitely something the Aces look like they could use. I contended that the Sparks would be a winner in this because there just was not the talent in the draft that they could have had compared to Kelsey Plum, who is at her peak now. And giving her the reins and telling her to lead this young team is a really fun proposition, because when I think of the WNBA, I do think of the LA Sparks just from being somebody that watched the league at its inception. They are a key franchise. It's like the Sparks should be good. So, I did not want to see the Sparks just being just the dregs of the league. So I think they only won 8 games last year. I don't think they have to worry about that this year. And that game in Golden State where Kelsey Plum just decided we are not losing to an expansion team, that go out of your way to see those highlights if you haven't, or at least just watch how she approached that. I've seen some great breakdowns on her footwork and the way she attacks the defenses, and she's an incredibly skilled player. The last thing I want to talk about is Dominique Malonga on the Seattle Storm. The number 2 overall pick, she has a grand total of 4 points through 2 games and is being brought along very slowly. Is this the correct approach with her? Time will tell. But again, I go back to the point of you have these people on rookie contracts. So some might argue, oh, you got plenty of time to do something with them. Man, there's no time like the present, though. I got to say, Seattle has so many veterans around and a front line in place with Ezzy and then Nneka Ogwumike. It's like she's not going to take their starting roles. But, man, you would think, like, if you got that number 2 pick, if you were going to not put it into action, it's almost like, what are you waiting for? I don't really understand the development program or if they have one at all in Seattle. She is 19. She does have to learn. She does have to adapt to the physicality. She's never played in the league this good before, for one, and she did not have the college experience, but she had a different experience. And the tape, for me, is not really something that, it's not like we're watching the grainy footage of, the Euro draftees in the early 2000s. We're like, oh, I don't know how it's necessarily going to work over here. I don't think it's that. Her stuff easily seems translatable because she can run alone. So like, just have her run the floor. Just have someone getting her the ball in transition and tell her to play 6 minutes a half. And hey, you're allowed to shoot as much as you want, Dominique Malonga. We're gonna just dump it down to you. You go crazy, and then you bring your starters back in to try to either win the games or not. But I don't feel like Seattle's a true contender, and I think if you hit somebody in the organization with truth serum, they would probably begrudgingly admit that as well. So if you're not a contender and you've got this young, prize prospect, you need to get them the reps. You need to let them go out there and fall on the sword a little bit, not limit their playing time to a couple minutes before the half, and then never put them back in the game. I don't know, man. I think your future is more valuable than the present because you are not beating the Liberty. You are not beating the Fever. You are not beating the Lynx. So if you're not in that class, I don't think there's any point in trying to just like inch up a little bit higher. It's like, yo, plan your long term. And by planning your long term right now with what you're doing in the short term, you will have the answers to move into that class once a Liberty starts taking a step back, once a Lynx starts getting broken up due to contracts, when, possibly even if Feast Collier hits free agency, when the aces completely fall apart around Asia Wilson. Seattle can definitely be a team through smart drafting over the next couple years with bringing Dominique Malonga along that we will have to worry about going into the 2030s. Those are some of my initial impressions. What are some of the things that have caught your eye in the league so far? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for the support that has gone on this channel. That, plenty of great comments, lots of, just running my numbers up, helping the subscribers, and really making it fun to talk about the W on this channel. And also when I do my appearances over on Mark and Rob on Thursdays, a live show, I'll go usually at 5:30 for about an hour and just kind of talk about what's going on in the league and, around it, and Caitlin Clark, the Fever, different stuff like that. So I have most of the names that I didn't know necessarily last year kind of down. And, being somebody that has always watched women's basketball throughout my life, it has been really cool kind of reconnecting with that over the last couple seasons. So, it was weird to see Diana Taurasi's not in the league anymore when I'm watching these commercials on the League Pass, and they were saying, they were just basically giving her flowers, and it's like, wow, Diana's gone. So this is a whole new time. So get excited, and let's talk about it in the comments. So you say something crazy, you might get a response, you might not. So it's up to you. So anyway, my name is Rich. I'm up out of here. Peace. One lifetime.